consecrating ourselves to the divine mercy. And it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. Again, our parish will offer a brief series, right, to look at the Gospel of Luke as the Gospel of Mercy. That's another offering from our parish. Again, pay attention to what your parish offers, to deepen and, again, to have your mind be disposable for God. Take advantage of these parish offerings and we have a lot more in Couples for Christ. I can't even tell you. This Christian Life program is merely a sneak peek, as I said. How else? We have to use our mind for God's purpose by how? We should always think of ways to serve God, right? Perhaps in our business, through our family, through our friends. We have to stop thinking that our work life is separate from our home life, right? Church life, or we have to think that those things are separate. We have, above all else, we need to think that we are Catholics, we are Christians first, right? Sometimes we feel like, okay, I'm going to be really like very prayerful in this group, and then I go to work and I have a different group, and then I go with my friends and I'm going to go back to being drunk. We have to be consistent in allowing God to really use us as His vessel, whether we interact with our families, with our church friends, with our parishes, with our communities, with our work. I know the world is slowly, not slowly, it's rapidly changing that, so that we're always just a different person with each other. Again, we should use our mind and intellect for Christian service, such as by giving pastoral advice, teachings, and catechisms. There are opportunities in your parishes, brothers and sisters. You guys just have to listen to the announcements after Mass. Do you guys pay attention to that? There's a lot of opportunities there. Read the bulletin, perhaps. There's a lot of opportunities there. And again, that's loving God with your mind and your soul. How about loving God with all your strength? Strength seems so physical, right? What does that mean? Since we are God's creation, He owns us, right? He calls us ours. Like it's anything that we call ours is not really ours, but His. And we have to believe that. We have to believe that. So if everything is His, then really we're merely what, managers of time, because time He gave to us. If we truly believe that, and what else, right? Of our time, talent, and treasures, we have to be generous about. And so, if we have to believe that everything's His, our time, our talents, and our treasure, we're merely managers of our time and stewards of our money, right? So how do we love God with all our strength? It's giving our time. How do we give time? We need to have proper attitude and respect towards time. We don't own our time, like I said. And so let's be generous of our time. Let's not just use our time using it for our own purposes. Let's use it for God's purposes as well, so that we may do His work. How else? We must seek God's direction. Again, it's not easy to be humans, because again, we have our human tendencies, we have our own will, and then there's this world that surrounds us. And so we must seek God's directions on how we are to spend our time through prayer and scripture reading again. So when we first got invited to this Christian Life program 10 years ago, and when you got invited, you probably had no clue that it was going to be more than one session, right? Did you? Maybe not, maybe a little idea, but not really. Do you know that from the time that you got invited, and maybe this is not even your first time to be invited, but from the first time you get invited, someone has always been praying for you. Praying for you to either make it this time or maybe the next time that we're going to have a Christian Life program. Someone, even as we hold these sessions, is praying for you, which is why we have a prayer station, prayer warrior station. Because again, we want as much as possible to not have room for the evil one to come in, right? So even as we hold these sessions, someone is praying. Someone is praying that, that this whole space, that our entire beings, our minds just be free of anything that's not of His name. Someone is praying right now. Again, so we must examine our free time as well. When we watch a movie, whether it's, what do you like to do on your free time? Watch a movie. What else? Read books, perhaps, right? Sleep, right? I mean, those aren't bad things to do on your free time. But then again, you have to be very discerning of the kind of movies you watch, of the shows that you watch, of the activities that you participate in. Again, it may not be, sometimes we've also felt we're so strong on our own being that, oh yeah, I know everything, all these bad things happen around me, but I'm strong, I'm not gonna get pulled away. We do. Like even with TV and media, like we slowly change in our thinking sometimes when we're reading, especially with two opinions, you're like, oh yeah, he's got a point, oh yeah, he's got a point. I mean, two different viewpoints can easily have a point, but which one do we choose? It's really a matter of consulting with God of which one to follow, right? What else? Loving God with all our strength also means using our talent to glorify God. Do you know what your talent is? I know mine's not singing. I do love to sing. I do. But what's your talent? What can you say is your talent? You don't have a talent? No. There's gotta be something.
Yeah, we're guitarists.
Guitarist, that's right. That's right.
Talking to me.
Barely.
I mean, and it could be attached to whatever profession you're doing now. I mean, that's your talent. That's where you're strong at. So you could be a salesman, you could be a doctor, you could be an engineer, right? But are you using your talent to glorify God? Because He, in fact, if you truly believe that He's the source of everything, then He gave us the jobs that we have, the professions that we have. And so are we using that to glorify Him back? So whether it be in singing, right? Are we using that talent to praise and glorify God? Or if you're a painter, I mean, are you painting what? Kids? There are people that does that. I mean, it's talented and it's creative, but what does it impose? What does it present to others with the finished work that you're able to do? If you're a talented physician, right? I mean, doctors can do absolutely many things, and our medicine have evolved so much that it's done many great things. But do you have the same compassion and love that Christ has for the sick, right, or the dying? Do we still believe that our careers are just our own accomplishments? Yes, right. Sometimes, oh, I'm so good, I deserve that promotion. Right? But really, God has a better plan there for you. I remember, and I'm revealing my age now, but I remember being the youngest. At one point in my career, I was the youngest in the company. And then you start evolving, you're kind of like the oldest in your team, and you kind of start hiring these people who are just newly grads, and they feel they know everything. You kind of have to tame them down a little bit, especially the millennials. Gosh, I admitted I'm not a millennial. They feel they know so much just because they had, you know, a lot quicker access to technology and everything. It's easier for them to claim that they know everything. And so you have to tame them a little bit now. And I feel like now in my job, and I'm a compliance officer for a vision plan, and so it's very regulatory, it's very dry. But then again, I think what I enjoy more now about my job is coaching those kids. I mean, literally, someone came into my office and said, "Can I have a raise?" Blatantly. And I said, "Sit down. Where is this coming from?" Right? And I think, and he never admitted it to me because I said, "Well, do you think, you know, I know we're talking about your potentials all these years, but do you think you've done that? Because I really think when you're presenting, you're not as confident yet." And then he said, yeah. And so I think it just came down to that, you know, as young people do when they're not thinking yet, they talk about their salaries with one another. And when you start talking about your salaries with one another, you start thinking, why am I not making up, you know, as much as the other person? And really it's jealousy that's kicking in. We're not looking at our performance, we're not looking at, oh yeah, this is enough. I'm provided every day with all my needs. I should be content. I mean, it's not bad to strive for a higher position. It's not bad to advance in our careers, again, but you have to have the right intention and you have to align it with God's will. And so I think more than anything in the technical component of my job, what I like now and what I appreciate now, and maybe what's making me stay more than the difficulty of the understanding the regulations, it's really the ability to have an opportunity to influence the younger ones and coach them a little bit, humble them a little bit, and maybe make them appreciate that really there's so much still to learn ahead of them. And that alone is worth staying in a job if they truly want to develop a good career path. What else? The right attitude that everything belongs to God should mean that we are just stewards of everything that we have, right? So how do we use our resources, right? We should use our resources wisely, unselfishly, and in accordance with the plan of God, who is, and we should believe that, the right owner of everything that we have. So we must be convinced that if it's God who enables us to acquire everything that we have right now, right? And it's true, think about where you are today. Wherever you are today, whatever status in life you're in, whatever position you're in your careers, school perhaps, or within your family, maybe you're still developing skills at this time, you're developing expertise in various areas. Can you really say that it was all you? That you got there because of all your own efforts alone? I mean, yeah, we do have efforts, we do have that will to work hard, to acquire the necessary knowledge that we have to be where we are, but really, can you say it was all you? Or it was just all me? Or it was just all us? No, right? So, God asks us as well for our treasure and our wealth and our possession, not really because He needs them, but He wants to mold our hearts. He wants to test our disposition in life and our heart as well. So God asks us to return to Him what is His, so that He might pour out even more blessings upon us. So if you don't understand, sometimes when we hear about announcements in our parishes that they're asking for money, sometimes we hear a lot of complaints like, oh my gosh, they're asking for more money, they keep asking for money. Well, if you don't really participate in the life of your parish, I don't know that we'll ever understand why they're asking. And when we don't understand why they're asking, it's really hard to give. And so I really encourage you, if you're not yet participating in your pastoral services appeal, which is a diocesan effort, or in any, like, if you don't even understand how important it is to be registered in a particular parish, ask somebody. Ask your pastor, because there is a lot of benefit. There is a lot of benefit to participating in the fullness of the life of your parishes and your diocese. Because that's truly how you know the bigger work that we do as Christians. And we have to understand that so that we know that it's the work of God, so that we're going to give a little bit more freely. Again, ask and really try to understand it. It gets presented to us every so often in our parish. And there's another model of loving God with all our strength, and that is St. John, the Patriarch of Alexandria. He was born of a rich and noble family, but he was married and he had children, but his wife died early as well as his children, and so when he was left alone, he devoted himself to spiritual pursuits and used all his resources to help the poor. And so his reputation over the 50 years of his age, he died fairly early as well. He was appointed to the Patriarchal Chair of Alexandria, and so when he died, he was canonized as the saint of the church and became known as Saint John the Almsgiver. Again, something to think about, right? And again, all these things are not meant to happen overnight. I think we're talking about the things that we talk about and why it's important to continue attending what we talk about. It's really to be constantly reminded of what we should be doing as Christians. We can't really stop there. And so, really, utmost models, I mentioned two saints so far, our utmost models for loving God is really Jesus and Mary. Jesus, knowing what his ultimate ending will be, right? He knew he will suffer, he knew he'll die on the cross. He accepted it, right? Because he knew it was God's will for him. Who else? Mary? Anybody thought of Mary? Right? She loves God so much that even when she had doubts in her mind, when Angel Gabriel spoke with her and announced that she will carry Jesus Christ in her womb, she quickly said yes. Such love for God, right? And so we talked about loving God with all our mind, with all our body, with all our strength, with all our soul and all our heart. How do we live that out? I mean, God, if you think about it, God is so invisible. We don't see Him. He's not tangible. And we wish we have lived 2,000 years ago, so we may have held on Christ and really have been witnesses to the physicality of the presence of God. But how do we live that out, right? We just talked about loving God, and it's really through loving our neighbor. And that is the second commandment. Love your neighbor as yourself. Hard to do, right? It's always a challenge to get there. So loving God and loving our neighbor, it comes together. It has to. Because we cannot love God without loving our neighbor. If anyone says, I love God, but hates his brother, he is a liar. For whoever does not love a brother whom he has seen, again, there's the visibility of our brothers and sisters, how can we love God whom we can't see? Who's invisible, right? So those are two inseparable things. And so what are the characteristics of Christian love? Right? It can be found in a very, very familiar biblical passage for all of you. It's a very popular reading in a wedding, whereas it's in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 to 8, where it says, love is patient, love is kind, love is not jealous, love is not pompous, love is not rude, right? Love is not self-seeking, love is not quick-tempered, it does not brood over injury, it doesn't rejoice over wrongdoing, right? It rejoices in the truth, and it's to have forbearance, right? Those are the characteristics of love. So we have to believe in the best about other people, right? That's easily said in our weddings, and I don't know how long you guys have been married. Probably average of, I know some of you here, average of, I want to say we're average.
56 years.
Huh? I just know that the longest term marriage in our South Orange County chapter at least is 56 years, and that was Tita Toto, because he celebrated it just last month. And praise God for that. It's not easy to carry out that kind of love.